Welcome back to episode 5 of Chaddy Issues, where you worry about your issues and I'll worry about my issues, and together we can make things grow. On my left, I have a fine young man, Louis Sambeski, all decked out in navy blue today, looking rather schmick.
Thanks to the missus. That's her favourite colour.
I love it.
Chaddy buys me navy blue.
I love it. Oh, looks good. And my lifelong friend on my right, Norm. And we have our very first and hopefully one of many female or guests here today, Tania Guerra. Tania, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
How are you feeling?
Nervous, but let's get it out. Yeah,
that's all right. I felt very nervous meeting my daughter's friends. Don't worry. So, Chaddy Issues is a space where we dive into real stories that shape real people. Today, I have the absolute honour of sitting with a woman whose story is nothing short of powerful. She's a mother of 2, a survivor of domestic violence, a warrior who's seen addiction tear through her family, and a woman who knows what it means to hit rock bottom. And I've said this before, rock bottom is the best holiday destination you'll ever have when you decide to get yourself a return ticket. She's seen addiction tear through her family. She's rebuilt a life with purpose, strength, and unshakable values. She's a champion for truth, for justice, and for real conversations, raw, unfiltered, and full of heart. And I knew that all about you before we met, Tania. I heard so much about you. This is the kind of story that sticks with you. Please welcome Tania Guerra on the podcast here today. Tania, thanks for coming in. Just for the record, this is the second time we've ever met.
Yes, correct.
And we met through a terrible person named Sarah.
The most horrible person on the
one.
earth.
And we have spent no longer than an hour together.
Possibly, yeah,
All
about
right,
that.
cool. So I'm a very raw person. Yep. I don't fuck around. So you can say anything you like, because I actually thought about this last night. I have weird thoughts at weird times. I started getting flashbacks of when we first met. What did you think? What energy do
I
you
actually have nothing but admiration for you and respect, to be honest, because knowing Sarah, the turmoil she's gone through, her ups and downs, and even just seeing her that day with you there and like listening to her throughout the last year, you have been such a knight in shining armour to her. So I have nothing but absolute respect for you, if I'm being honest, because Sarah, once upon a time, you know, we're broken souls that walk through earth sometimes. And although she's got very strong core values in some things and stuff like that, she needed someone that could step up to the plate and handle her, because she's very opinionated and very loud and crazy. And, you know, that's why we love her. And you've just done like this whole changeover on her. And she's just, I think, in such like a better place now with you beside her. And I think you both complement each other very well.
And by the way,
yeah, I know how sexy she is. Like, she's so sexy. She's beautiful.
Isn't that it? What I find interesting there, Tania, isn't it amazing how often we go to a close friend and they get involved with a new partner, and we actually analyse it through them rather than looking at the actual partner.
Yeah.
it's everything.
Because we, for instance, you and Sarah are very close.
Yes.
So you can see that change. You don't know Chad from a bar. So,
No. But I can see who he is through her.
Absolutely.
So, and you know, I've told her before, I'm so grateful that she's got you.
I don't know how to respond to any of that. I mean, I do, but it could take hours, but so I've got to be very surgical. First of all, you can't clap with one hand.
Yes,
So
of course
together
not.
we make things
Would be
grow,
like an
yeah?
idiot
You can have a
right
good
now.
time with one hand, but you can't clap with one hand. But look, I'm going to commend you, firstly. Like, I had a weird flashback. I'm looking at you, looking at me, I'm thinking, this girl, she's playing chess with me. A good, healthy chess. I don't even play chess, but I get the gist. It's like she's moving, doing her thing, but she's holding her ground. And that's actually what I want my daughters to do when they meet anyone.
Yeah.
So you're giving and taking. You're not opening up and just being, you know, being ready to be taken. You got to hold your ground.
Absolutely.
So that's the first thing I noticed with you. And the more time we spent, the more warmth I felt, and the more I probably deserved more of your attention, and the more you got my respect. And about a month before I met you, I would say to myself, I need to attract a woman who gets it, all the nuts and bolts, because I don't want the message that I'm trying to get across coming from me. I prefer it to come from a woman, but it's not about my message or a woman's message. It's about the nutrients or the sustenance that the world needs right now. And again, this show is not about division. Division is the devil's work. This show is about unity, because I'll say this over and over again. We need to work together like the hands and the feet, because if we don't, someone's coming for our kids. And secondly, it's all about legacy for me. Like Khabib says, when you fight for legacy, there's no loss. Whenever I was in my shit, there was no loss. Yeah. I had everything Norm knows, Louis knows, thrown at me. Never once did I ever imagine losing my kids. And you know what, Tania, that may sound arrogant, because I connected with my kids. I actually loved my kids, and I knew they loved me. Now, love is a feeling, yeah? It's not a transaction. It is for some people. That's why it doesn't work out. Yep. So even that I've physically removed from me, in my brain, you know what I'm talking about, they were never going to get taken away from me.
Absolutely not.
You know. And regarding Sarah, first of all, I've said this to her before, I would go through my story 100 times again to find Sarah. And I'll also say this, which is very, very important. She actually told me, don't you ever wear this top because you're going to look pussy whipped. But here's my response, and this is my message to everyone. Whenever someone comes into your life, a janitor, a friend, they come in, they have the right to leave you whenever they want, right? They owe you nothing. It's nice if they say, hey, look, it's not working out, or if they send you a message. But guess what? You have to have the strength to understand things may not go the way I wanted it to go. And if tomorrow she said to me, it's over, I would say, God bless. If you need anything 3 o'clock in the morning, call me. And I'll probably book a one-way ticket to Las Vegas for at least a month. Yeah. But that's my mind says that, but I don't think I can. But the point is, I'd have that mentality where there's another life somewhere else, because that clock's ticking. Yep. I don't care about tick-tock. I care about this clock.
Absolutely.
Right? This is the clock you need to worry about. Again, I'm glad we got that out the way. Tania, this show's all about, you know, challenges and people with real stories. I don't want Hollywood stories here. I want real people. So part of being real is, obviously, everything starts at childhood.
Absolutely. It does.
So tell me all about your childhood. I know you grew up in a huge family. What was that like day to day, and how did it shape your sense of responsibility from a young age?
It shaped me to always put everyone else first, that's for sure. Or, you know.
And yourself last.
Yeah, always, you know, rushing to the dinner table, making sure you get there before everyone else can eat. But what can I say? So my dad had me when he was 52. So Dad was an older dad, and I'm actually very privileged to have had him as my father, or to have him as my father, because he's still around. So childhood was pretty good in the younger years. So, you know, Dad would take us camping, you know, family time. Everything was great. Dad was the provider. I'm getting nervous.
Don't worry about that.
So, but I think it got to like when I was about 8 years old, my mum started playing up on my father, and I was the first one to catch her cheating.
Did you have any sense, any kind of energy shift from her as a child?
Yeah, we were travelling a lot into Sydney. So, you know, and we were always staying at this lady's house who was very outgoing and out there, and single lady syndrome.
Yeah.
You know, I always had to go grab the attention.
How old were you at that time?
I was probably about 8. So we were commuting, driving up and down almost every couple months. So I realised stuff was going bad there. And then in actually year 2000, I busted my mum telling a man that she loved him over the internet. And my dad that day, because I yelled it out, my mum flogged me, and my dad just told her, get out. I've never seen my dad be violent, abusive or anything to a woman. So...
That's what you're supposed to do.
Absolutely. But, you know, he did. He told her, get out of my house for now. He needed to cool off. He needed to make sure I was okay, because she gave me quite a whooping for it. Everything got back to normal. So Dad was the main provider.
Sorry, was that your first whooping? And stupid question, how'd that make you feel?
No, not the first one. But that one, I don't know. I've always been a daddy's girl. So Dad protected me when he needed to. He got
So
hurt.
it was your mother that
Yeah.
laid hands on you?
Yeah, because I busted her. Had the head over the computer and I noticed it. Oh, sorry. Type, she loves some other gentleman. So she ended up coming back into the house. I can't remember how long she was gone for. So then she came up with excuses. Her father was ill. Wait, let me backtrack. My dad was always a provider. So Mum always took care of the household. She cooked, she cleaned. She had the best desserts. I'm not going to, bash her down too much. That's probably the only good thing she had about her.
And it must be really hard, like, talking about your mother, like, negatively.
Yes and no. Yep. I was very angry at a very young age because of it. I would get into fights. I think, I was punching on from a teenager. I was doing drugs, everything, because I allowed her to keep that hold on me, that anger of abandonment and all that kind of stuff. So now I've let that anger go.
You allowed her to keep that hold on you. How important and powerful is that? Like knowing what it does now, what would you pass on about that?
That whatever people subject you to in the past, do not let it keep taking control of you in your future. And I noticed that from a DV relationship, always being scared, paranoid, watching cars behind me, everything like that. And it was like, I haven't broken free because I'm still allowing him to control and manipulate my mind. And that's when I started to let go of her too, was I still allowed her for so many years to have some sort of control over me. And enough's enough. Like, I make my own destiny. I make my own path.
I'm just going to add to that something very important. I think I've said this before, in particular to Norm. I had dinner with David Goggins one night, best night of my life. And so there's a group of guys talking around their journey, and there was a female host. She was just hosting, okay? But that night, let me tell you, there wasn't a dry eye in that room. So she said, I'm sorry, guys, I just have to butt in here. She said, Dave, I was sexually abused as a child. Since then, I've gone on successful business, and I'm a black belt as well, but my demons still haunt me. And he said, you know what? He said, thanks for telling me, that takes strength to say that. He said, guess what? My fucking demons still haunt me too, but I tell those motherfuckers, you're not getting fed today. So I always tell Norm and everyone else this, right? Because we talk in depth often. It's normal for all those thoughts to come. And these are my words, right? It's normal for the thoughts to come here. We're designed that way. Do not let them get here. That's where the problem is. So yes, I have thoughts, but I quickly flick.
I always say, don't let it live there.
Yeah.
Feel it for 5 minutes
Don't
if you
feel it.
have to.
Yeah.
If that's what you need, just, to get over that little hiccup.
Yeah. I would ring him.
Yeah.
Because he's been there and done it. Now, I knew what he's going to say to me, but I needed to. I got a saying, when you're sick, you go to a doctor, not a panel beater.
Absolutely.
These days, even doctors are questionable. But yeah, like, you have to go to someone who's been there and done it. And that's why I want to do this show as well, because our journey, the kids and my journey, it's got all the bells and whistles. And this is September will be going to my 6th year.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Our society today, they're so feminist that they don't see that women put a lot of trauma into children that then set them up really awful later in life.
Oh, that brings up a question that I'd like to ask the both of you, seeing that you've been through the system. What do you think that it favours the woman?
Absolutely, 100%.
And if so, how?
Look, Norm, I think it's by design, right? This is no coincidence, right? That they do not want masculine fathers.
No, they've got rid of that a long
As soon as you show any form of masculine, they put something in front of it. Toxic.
Yes,
It's toxic.
absolutely.
But yeah, you can speak to my partner. She loves the fact that I'm masculine.
Lou,
and take charge.
The problem is not toxic masculinity. The problem is a lack of masculinity, right? Secondly, I will go to my grave, and I'll always say this: I never let anyone tell you the system is broken. No, it's running like a Swiss watch. Show me any law in Australia that favours men and doesn't favour women. Show me one law. You can't. So I've got a saying, again, my words, there's equality everywhere. There's equality in the postman's ass. There's equality in every football field, every Coles truck. There's equality everywhere. But there's just one place where magically equality does not exist.
The family household.
It's called the family law courts.
Yeah, well, going back to Norm's question, I mean, I can see it firsthand, and I knew, and I'm talking about, I went through that in 2014 and 15. I have actually thought that I would see change in that time. Now, I know a lot of guys who've got ABOs on them and everything like that, but as soon as Chad, because our daughters have been close friends since they were tiny, I didn't know Chad that well, so people understand the story. And when he mentioned to me, we started talking and what was going on, I had to take a step back and listen to what was happening from his end, from his ex-partner. And I thought, and I would just sit there and think to myself, shit, I would do half that, not have the SWAT team. And when I mean the SWAT team, I'm talking about breaches that I would actually walk past, who was my current wife at the time, but I had an IVO out of me and I couldn't see my kids, by going into Coles, for God's sake. Now, an IVO says if you do see your partner, to separate yourself. Didn't say you can't shop at Coles, but within half an hour of actually seeing her at Coles, they had viewed the video, and I had about 6 cop cars at my door.
Without cutting off, if you look on the screen now, it's funny because I've got a saying. Along my journey, I come up with a saying that if a female calls a police station, right, to make a domestic violence complaint, she gets the SWAT team.
Yeah.
Every single time I've ever called, I got an Indian call centre with Sanjit, right, and Punkaj and Sakdeep and whatever, all in the background. That's what I used to get. I'm sorry, I'm passionate about this, but it's the truth.
Not to be biased. Now, the bad thing is about the system. So I've gone through that, and I would have the opposite. I would be sitting where you're sitting. So, and that's because there's so many females in the system who are holding up the system with fake allegations that then when there are real people who need help, we don't get it.
Tania, this is one of the many, many reasons I'm doing what I'm doing, because what I've learnt along, do you know it used to eat me up? It used to eat me up, but I knew there's women out there that were in genuine fear, that actually live with men, that if they dared to call the police station, they'd be dead quicker than they can hang up.
Absolutely.
They're the ones that suffer in silence, and then you got the ones that have it as a business card.
Because they want the attention, they want to have the sympathy, they want to play the victim card.
Clearly, your dad sounded like he was the rock in the family.
He still is.
Yeah. Even though I haven't met him, it's funny because everything's passed down, yeah? I can feel him through you, which is obviously a testament to him. Obviously a loving man, a protector, a provider, an honest, decent man. How does everything affect him now at this age, in your opinion?
Well, after Mum left, Dad never remarried or got into a relationship. And the sad thing is us girls protected him, and we thought it was protecting him. We never allowed him to go meet someone new because his first wife passed away of leukemia, and then he got with my mother, who was just a non-maternal being.
How'd they meet?
I actually don't know. So I just know, Dad, at the time, he had his stepdaughter, 4 sons, and my half-sister. So he needed a woman to help carry his family. He's just laid the love of his life down, and, he still had a family to raise. And so I'm not sure how they met, but my mum at the time was in her mid-30s. So I think I was 36 when I was born.
So one thing I've learned, I've had a couple relationships, if you call them, just call them relationships. When I look back, I shouldn't have had, I thought I was ready, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
But there's pros and cons to that. It's like you think you are, right? So you go back out there and and you realise later on that you weren't, but you're actually getting stronger, smarter, whatever. And
You've learned
actually,
something.
this phone
Yes.
came from that one of those relationships. So everyone comes into your life for a reason.
Yeah.
And
So can I just butt in for 1 second? So looking back at it now, right? Like you've got this beautiful relationship with Sarah. Why did you? And I know you're going to say the kids, but why were you so patient? And why did you wait that long when there was really nothing there?
it's a good question, and because the matters before courts, I can't answer that completely. But I can talk about, generally speaking, why most men stay in those kind of relationships. Many reasons. At the end of the day,
Because it was an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
You were in an abusive relationship.
let's say in my past life, I was in an abusive relationship. I won't say which relationship, but I was in an abusive relationship. So, generally speaking, in my opinion, men or women stay for many reasons. One of the main reasons is their childhood traumas. So usually when they haven't felt love somewhere, they'll seek it in an unhealthy way. Or if someone hasn't, come from a place of poverty, they'll feel the need to find money. They need to overcompensate in that area. What I've learned is men are fixers, all right? Real men, especially, look, I'm a fixer, but the difference is now is I choose who I help, right? So there's nothing wrong with being a fixer, mate. We're supposed to fix. We're supposed to pick up someone if they're in the gutter. We're supposed to protect our woman. We're supposed to pick her up when she's down. But let me tell you one thing I've learned. If it's not reciprocated, okay, so every relationship, even a friendship, if you and I didn't call each other, if we didn't talk once or twice a week, it's a two-way street, right? So if it's not being reciprocated, there's a reason for that, right?
All right, I'm going to ask you a difficult question then, which I feel is difficult. So you were in a dysfunctional marriage for all those years. You let it slide, but you could obviously see what it was doing to your children.
Yeah,
Why
but-
didn't you move quicker?
Let me answer. Yeah, so I want to give them that answer, Luna. You come in. So I've always likened this when it comes to cutting a marriage, like ending a marriage, especially when there's kids. Me personally, I liken it to chopping off your own arm. So there was a rock climber years ago. He got stuck in a rock and he had to cut off his own arm. That's what breaking my family up meant to me. So that's personally, it wasn't about me not being able to find another woman. For me, that was the easy bit. But there are a lot of guys also that have that insecurity. Such nice guys and, worked all their life, didn't really have a big circle of friends. They find it even harder. And they're the guys that actually go down a dark path. And that's only one issue. Then you got the family law courts. So it's funny because men don't, the government wants to talk about suicide, but they never talk about why men commit suicide. Let me tell you, I've got a fair idea
Alienation is one of them.
why they do.
Yeah, look, to answer Norm's question, the fact is, when you get to a point, as I'm talking from a father's point of view, very similar to Chad's scenario, and many fathers that are going through the same thing, I think you make the call when it starts to affect your kids.
Yeah.
When that relationship is now, you're in there to try and help, first of all, and save this relationship for the family unity, right? Because there's kids and so forth. But I think it gets to a time where that balance starts to sway, that pendulum starts to swing, that you go, hang on a second, now this behaviour and this relationship that I'm having with their mother is going to have an effect on them growing up and their relationships moving forward.
Absolutely, and that's what I was getting at.
And when that
Look,
trigger happens,
you're a template, right, for what a relationship should look like
absolutely,
for your children.
And a lot of guys will stay in it, but they stay in it too late, and it affects the kids. You got to remember, I was all about the kids. I'm not saying I don't value marriage or anything like that, for better and for worse. I don't know how many people get. I mean, these days, I can guarantee you, if you haven't made me a cup of coffee, I'm looking for the divorce courts, right? Where's the worst part? So I stick by those old values, but it gets to a point where you got 3 innocent kids like I had, like Chad has, and how much screaming are you going to expose them to? How much yelling are you going to expose them to? Yeah. Are you going to normalise That's your children.
that's
In summary,
that's it.
everyone has different answers and that they look differently for everyone. But a lot of it comes down to insecurities, right? And a lot of it comes down to some people stay in for financial reasons, many, many reasons. But what I do know, the stomach tells you everything. If you just listen to your stomach. And you know what? I'm not saying I was a nice guy, but some people feel sorry for others. And I would tell any girl or any guy, if they're in a relationship, and you really want it, you shouldn't be with them, but you feel sorry for them, get the fuck out of there. That's the best thing you can do for them. And if you really love a girl, she leaves you, right? If you really love her, she wants to leave you, let her go. If you love her, let her go.
Yeah. Okay. And this is a really good place to redirect the conversation back to Tania. It's a good segue. You said that you experienced domestic violence.
Yeah.
Do you want to share that? I know it's really difficult, and I'm sorry to put you on the
because
spot.
at the end of the day, it's, I guess, the norm now.
Yeah.
It's so normal now.
Well, not this norm anyway.
Well, no, not your norm, but my norm. So I was actually with someone for 5 years, and it took me 3 years to escape that monster, and I will call him a monster. So a year and a half in, that's when I figured out that he was ice. He was an ice addict.
Before that, you had no clue.
No clue at all. So we didn't live together. We didn't anything like that. So I couldn't count how many times DV happened. But it got to the point where enough was enough. But that's what I was saying before. There's so many women out there with false allegations that sometimes you can't rock up to a police station unless you're battered to get the help that you need.
What's your message to women who think nothing of pumping out false allegations, knowing that the damage they do for them? And by the way, just on those orders, if you ask me, intervention orders in Australia currently do more damage to a society than if we had a society that's armed to the teeth.
Don't get me wrong.
Strong claim.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now.
Some need.
Intervention orders destroy more lives right now than if we had a nation armed to the teeth.
It's also the repercussions of the false allegations once children are put on there, because then once the males go into the jail system, they're then segregated with pedophiles and everything too. They're not allowed to have visits, family time visits and stuff like that. So it doesn't just affect their outside life, it can then put them in danger inside as well. So...
I know men that have been falsely accused of touching up their own kids.
But I'm saying as soon as a child's name is on an IVO, they're already automatically segregated in jail.
I didn't know
because they're not allowed to do visit times when people are there with their kids, because on the system it doesn't actually say whether they're there for being a pedophile or whether they're there due to DV.
I didn't know that.
So
And that's true because when I was in remand, I was only allowed one visit.
yeah, so he would have been set on a certain date at certain
Can you believe
times
that,
where
Chad?
families weren't allowed in that centre at that
But
time.
But people had visitors.
I had no clue. Do you know how close I was to that?
Yeah, so that's where false allegations are really bad too, because then men are getting put away, and then they're getting then stigmatized in there for something they're not even, for not someone who they're not.
So what, can we all agree the system is too much of a net? It's a net.
It's an umbrella.
Well,
They just put everyone under one umbrella.
Well, there needs to be accountability, both for men and women.
Absolutely.
When it comes to court, and you get found out making false allegations, mate, the courts need to come down on you, and that's the only way.
But they don't.
You're going to stop. But you
they-
don't.
It does, and more thorough investigation into it.
Yeah, but Tanya, the thing is this. Now, if I worked in the special family violence unit, for instance, which I had many dealings with, right? For instance, I was accused of being a drug addict.
Yeah.
Now, that many times I offered randomly, you come and take me any day that you want. If I
Drug screenings.
No, and take my blood.
Yeah.
Do you think they did?
No.
That would have cleared up. But yet they kept using that every time I was arrested. That your partner's saying you're a drug addict, you're addicted, you're violent, you're aggressive, and I offer my blood randomly at any time. All they had to do was take me up on my offer.
Because that's how they keep the toxic cycle going.
Yeah, they love it.
And this is how they make their money. This is how they cause family breakdowns, all that kind of stuff. It's all from the government. It starts off there. Because even now,
Clearly,
they try and break up the family unit as
Tanya,
much as possible.
Is it not obvious what they're up to?
Absolutely. That's why I fought them for freaking 4 years straight in front of everything.
I just want to touch on one thing, right? And this is a statistic that's correct, and anyone can look it up. what happens with women, and the biggest thing, which is about 85% that fathers are accused of, is actually tampering with their own child, right? That's their go-to. I don't think, and I'm going to mention this because it happened to someone I know, to his, I think, 3-year-old at the time. Do you know how invasive it is and the tests that they've got to do to actually make sure that didn't happen?
Yeah.
Who the hell would put their child through that, knowing that it's false, with no ramification?
Psychotic, narcissistic women.
I want to be very clear.
Actually throw the book at them and say,
Enough.
But they won't.
Enough.
I want to be
But
very
they
clear.
won't, exactly.
It's not just
They
women.
won't do
It's not just women. Right? And this again, I'm going to be on this flat out. If you're a shit, when you're a shit person, they actually come in both sexes. So you're a shit person.
Yes.
It's male and female. It's got nothing to do with women, right? We're talking about being a shit person, because when you're a good person, you'll help a stranger, right? You'll help someone in the gutter. You're just a good person. But when you're a shit person and you haven't dealt with your shit, right, whether it's mummy issues or daddy issues or chatty issues,
You bleed on
right?
everyone.
You know what? It's going to be your business card, because you're an empty packet. And when you're an empty packet, you want the whole world to pay for your emptiness, right? The best thing you can do for people like that, and I was going to ask you about red flags. Like, did you notice any red flag
No,
initially?
but that's because a lot of men, especially I've noticed, like drug substance men, some men in general, they fake who they are a lot at the start to get, because I was a pretty, like, I ain't dealing with this shit, I ain't whatever. And they love bomb you at the start. A lot of them do, but women are exactly the same. Both genders are equally as fucked as one another, and that's just how it is. But
we've got to choose our words quietly. Both genders are beautiful. Men and women are beautiful, right? So we have to say, people with unhealed wounds, right, unhealed traumas, they're loaded guns.
well, and that's the thing though, and people with a lot of trauma, they've got a lot of experience on how to manipulate people.
It's a learned behaviour.
It is.
It's a survival
It's
mechanism.
manipulation at its finest. And that's what it is. And so I didn't find out till afterwards, but by then I was really stupid. Oh my God, I'm in love. And then the reason why a lot of women stay, in my opinion, and I reckon it will work for guys too, is people break you down to your soul and make you feel like you're not good enough for anyone else. No one's going to want you. You've got too much baggage here. And so you're stuck. You're stuck thinking, okay, this is my life. This is the only person who's going to be attracted to me, the only person who's going to love me. And they give you the bare minimum of nothing.
They know when you're at that point and
Exactly.
how to manipulate. And just when you're about to leave, they know all the exact correct spot-on words
100%.
to keep. It's like a fire, right? You ever been camping? And you see
Yeah, I love camping.
So it's a real balance act of oxygen and flame and whatever and fuel.
Yep.
That's what they do.
Absolutely.
They bring you to that point, and I'm talking about narcissists just to be very clear, right? Because what they'll do, and you'll agree, is they are the most toxic, evil people that you will ever meet, and that will also introduce you to a world that you never knew existed.
Exactly.
And you know what happens? You never know until the end. But once you know, it's like the best aha moment you will ever have in your life, because no one is ever going to pick up the pieces and put that puzzle back together. Puzzle, I should say. I just want to ask you, obviously, you grew up like most of us with instability somewhere from mum. Looking back, how do you think that impacted your sense of identity as a girl? And you also exposed to a lot of, drugs, trauma, death of your brothers. What gave you the strength to keep going through all that?
Oh, what was the first question?
So how did the initial childhood shape you? Eventually, growing up as a teenager.
So although I had a very strong dad, he was present but not present. So he would get up at 4 a.m. some days, not get home till 7, because he had to make sure he provided for us. So my trauma was
Growing up by yourself.
pretty much, like, I went through puberty by myself. Like, I went to my dad's like scratching his head, like, what do I do? And although I had an older sister, she wasn't even present because she was the Cinderella child, which was my mum's stepdaughter. So my mum was very hard on her. So when my mum left, she was like, screw this, I'm partying. She went out into the wild. So, yeah, I started just hanging out with people I shouldn't have. I got onto drugs, and I started sitting down in friends' houses who would smoke bongs with their parents, and that became the normal for me for like 4 years. So I just made bad choice after bad choice.
Tania, you know what you're saying about your mum wasn't there. The hardest thing I've had to do the last couple of years is have conversations with my girls that I really shouldn't be having.
Yeah. It's not a man's place, really.
I've had to find gears within gears, and I'll tell you why God loves me, because Sarah came into my life to bail me out of that stuff. And as I said on the previous show, my kids love that woman. And here's the kicker. My son has come up and had the most beautiful conversations with her. She walks in the house. She says, honey, I'm home. She comes up to him. She says, I love you.
Yeah.
That
She is remarkable, though.
Yeah.
She really is.
So, but Chad, this is why there's a place for fathers and for mothers.
It should be a two-family household, but unfortunately, like you said, when enough becomes enough and you can't see your children go through what they're going through, you have to pull the plug.
And in those situations when you are a single parent, whether you're a single dad or single mum, well, you need to step up to the plate to both. So because
And that's where...
I've got a, like my daughter growing up from, I think her mum passed when she was quite young, 7. And I didn't have to think about when she gets to a teenager. Now she's almost 17. But I went through, getting the questions asked about, Dad, I think I'm having my period. Well, I haven't had my period. My friends have had their period. To me, buying her tampons, buying her pads now at the supermarket, it's just normal for me.
Yeah.
It's not, and it's no big deal.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you play both of
that's
those roles.
when you realise, shit,
But I think
buying tampons for your daughters, buying tampons for your daughters.
Yeah, but Chad, it's
like
no big deal. I was holding because they're on special, so here's me thinking they're half price.
At the start,
Is there a use-by date on these things? Check
at
out.
the start is awkward, but from awkward it goes to pride.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you should have.
It's like
Yeah, that's why we're doing what we do, Lou. You've got two teenage boys.
I do.
What are their names?
Alexi, he's turning 17, and Andre turning 16.
Describe them to me.
Oh, so my youngest one, I'd say he's very indoctrinated, which isn't something I really like. Which isn't something I really like, but he's very passionate about learning. He just got the highest GPA out of the whole school.
Yeah, said this.
And you know what? He has to take all the credit for it. It's definitely not me. And my younger one,
Didn't you say someone came and hit him up with something recently?
Oh, so they want to give him an internship or scholarship to Microsoft in year 11. So he's a good kid. He's one of the most loving, but very
That's all right.
He's just got dark sarcasm. He's just awesome. He's absolutely just such a good, lovely kid. He'll extend his hand if asked. The older one, he's the asshole. So he's the gamer, the more airy-fairy, living on his own time type of child.
You know what's important? The look on your face when I ask you about your children. You're looking up to the sky and you smile.
Do you know why? Because I'm grateful. Being a single mum, I work 60, 70-hour weeks, and unfortunately I was that parent who had to leave devices to raise my children because my dad was my babysitter. He was already in his 70s. He couldn't handle children. So here's your iPads or here's your consoles, off you go, and I'm working. But looking at the world today and how there's so many stabbings, kids are on drugs, all that type of stuff, virginity means nothing anymore and it's never taught to men and males. So I'm actually quite grateful that my kids, although one games a lot, the other one's studying all the time, I'm very grateful that they're home. I know they're always safe. They're not doing anything stupid. They're still virgins. They don't smoke. They don't do drugs. They don't... Yeah,
but Tania, I don't think we should think because we're out there working and being away from our kids. What I realised is it's the quality, not the quantity.
Yeah, and I've given them a very good quality life.
And you know what? My kids were on devices, but you know what? They're pretty aware of their surroundings. I educated them all the way through why I thought the way I thought about COVID. How it was all bullshit from day dot.
Yeah.
And so the good thing is that they don't watch mainstream media. So I went, you know what? You're on your devices. Boys, this is who I want you to follow. This is who I want you to get your information from. So then when they watch the mainstream news,
they knew it all.
They go, what the hell? These guys are regurgitating the same thing. It's like on record. But yet, and I go, you've got to realise who's giving you the information.
Yeah.
You
But
sounded a bit guilty when you said I gave him a device.
Yeah, because kids are just so stuck on it now. Like, I still enjoy going camping. I go camping with my partner and stuff. My kids never want to go anymore. They're at that teen years where it's like, I don't want to go.
Generally, they all don't want to go.
I don't want to
Don't
do
beat
it.
yourself up too much.
I know, but it's just,
No. Can I just important question? What do you tell your boys about relationships?
they know to always respect a woman. That's one thing that I've always made it at the top of the food chain, I could say, for them. But at the same time, I've always taught them to always be self-sufficient, know how to do things yourself. Don't expect a woman to lay everything down for you. Like, you've got to be prepared. If she's not well, you get up, you do the washing, you cook, you do all that. They're still teenagers. They don't listen. But the one thing I'm very grateful for is that they're not disrespectful when it comes to the opposite gender.
And that's the thing, Tanya, but you'll see the way they behave with you, and that's the way they're going to actually treat women.
Yeah.
Because I saw the way that my boys were, and for me, that's what I'm most proud of. Not grades, not whether they're on their devices, it's how they actually treat other people.
Yeah, so I had a thing where my son, not accidentally, purposefully called the girl at school an S word. And I was like, why? And he's like, Mum, she was saying this and that to me. Fine, tit for tat. At the same time, I'm not going to teach him it's okay for her to smack you. If you can give it, you can cop it. Plain and simple. I don't care what gender you are. If you can bark, then you can expect people to bite back. If you don't like it, that's on you. You laid that foundation.
You know,
I know that sounds pretty bad.
I'm not pro-violence. Right?
Oh, I'm not either,
yeah,
but like...
I just want to remind people of the world we live in. So these days we have a thing called women's boxing, women's UFC, right? How do you know if someone's hitting you is not a trained fighter?
Exactly. But the thing is, even with boys in today's society, sex and everything's at the palm of our hands. We have to really be careful of the younger men generation coming forward. And that's where I get scared as a parent, because now you could look at a girl and get charged for it. Like,
Tania, one of the things about my journey is I've got a duty, and that's to make sure my kids, in particular my son, is a better version of me.
yeah,
And I'm very confident that he's well and truly on his way, because I wasn't always this guy, and Norm will be a testament to that. But one of the things I'm big on is actually telling women that I wasn't always this guy, and I was a bad boy. I still am a bad boy. That's still there, but I just put it to a healthier cause now through training, through being open and honest with Sarah about everything and anything. But I also just want to, one of my things is to be able to look in that camera right now and tell women, listen, you don't need to flaunt your booty to get that guy. And I want to be very clear, men don't complain about women, right? Men complain about females, right? But if everyone just began the journey of becoming a male and a woman, things will be different. You don't need to flaunt everything. And I tell my daughter, actually, I said this to Jamie the other day. She said to me, Jamie, Dad, how will I know when I found the one? I said, Jamie, when he looks at you 1% of the way, and when he looks and makes you feel 1% of the way I do, that's the one. And I said, the one that's going to be for you is not the one that you're going to be somewhere, he's going to run up like I used to out of nowhere, like a vulture. No. I said, it's not the one that's sitting in the corner too shy. I said, it's the one that acknowledges you, that you know you're there, and that you do your thing and you feel a certain energy from him. But we all have to go for our own experiences. But in the end, I promise you one thing, especially to guys, because I can't control what women do, but I can give advice to men, because I like to think, I've had enough experience to be able to do it. And I generally don't think before 40 you really can give that much advice, but 30 plus you start understanding the journey. I promise you one thing, karma is real, right? Because karma got me, but here's the difference. I sleep very well at night with my karma. That's where you want to be.
Can I just take you back 1 second to when you spoke about your kids being around you, and you were like comfortable with that. But you don't want them to venture out and like.
I was gonna
No,
say
I
something.
try and encourage him as much as possible. So my younger one, he refuses to go anywhere. He's just so, and that's where I've lost it at the school and everything, because he's so good. He's a captain. He's this and he's that. And they had him going over to the primary school to do, like train or, I don't know, some of the grade sixes. And then they used to teach him to go around to classrooms and give people brain breaks. But they don't allow him to have that break. So I've fought with the school about that.
Nice.
But he doesn't want to go anywhere. I ask him during the
you had,
holidays.
like, a fear of him getting
So
out
my
there.
older one, like during school holidays or friends, they'll come pick him up. They'll get the bus or ride their bikes or scooters, go get a feed, go to the city. That I'm not,
Oh, that's fine.
I'm happy for them to venture out because that's how they got to learn. But the good thing is, and I'm confident with them venturing out because I know we've got so much of a relationship that if anything does go wrong, they will come to me.
Yeah,
We have that friendship.
I think that's the main thing, and this is the thing. And I think it's a bit different with males and females raising both, because I actually thought I'd be one of these dads that would not let my daughter move out anywhere. She can barely stay at home.
Yeah.
And now I know with Chad, now our daughters are pretty close. What can we do? I mean, I have some parents going, "Where's your daughter? Oh, she's out. Oh, it's 9:30. She's out with 5 friends. What do you want me to do? I can see her location. She's where she should be. And she knows that if she moves from that location, all I need to know is where you're going.
Yeah, it's about being transparent with your child.
You know, it's not looking,
Being their friend.
spying where you're going, how you're going. And that's a big,
You've got
that's
to,
where they grow.
You've got to let them be. And I always say this: make as many mistakes as you can, but not ones you can't come back from.
Yeah, great point.
And I suppose this is an important question. How have you encouraged? What's the relationship like with the boys and their father, and how have you tried to encourage it or nurture it?
So the relationship is non-existent due to their father. So when we first separated, there was a period I kept him away, and that's because he was being violent, very threatening. So it didn't last too long, but I've always had an open door policy because it's what my father taught me with my mother. He's never put her down, disrespected her, never made her less than, being a person. So I've always had that door open, and I knew with time the kids will figure it out for themselves. And so we've always had that policy, and unfortunately their father just became a drug addict about 2 years ago, and then that's when I completely shut the door on him and told him, "No, that's it, you have no more access to my children." So, and that was the first time, I will say, it was the first time I was actually honest to them about their father. But I didn't kick him in the guts. I just said, "Look, Dad's substance abused. He's an addict at the moment. He's on ice. It's not his fault he can't show up for you."
And how did they take that?
They didn't really care.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's already been such a strained relationship.
Kids get on with it, Tanya. Kids, sorry, one second. Kids get on with it, and what happens is, I wanted what you just said there to get out, because people say, "Oh, fucking women don't let me see my kids." Well, hang on, bro. It's not a woman. It's just that a bad person doesn't want you see their kids.
Exactly, because from a young age, even from when they were little, he'll be like, "Oh, I'm going to the beach with my friends. Come pick them up, take them out for the day." "Oh, no, I'm going to go hang out with my mates." I took them everywhere I went. Everywhere.
Look, you wouldn't leave your kids with someone they're in danger with, right? So why would you think you'd allow it with their father or their mother? Seriously, if you think about that, and I've got to commend Tania for leaving the door open. But you know what? You can't teach him how to behave like a father.
No, I can't.
And do you know what? Kids are pretty resilient. And the question about how's their relationship, well, they don't have one, mate. You know why? Because it's been, to have a relationship, a father or a mother relationship with your kids, it takes a long of quality and realness.
To build.
Yeah, and love and security. If you don't, doesn't matter how much you see your kids.
And you made an excellent point when you said, I want my kids to argue with me because then they have a voice.
That's right. They've got to feel like if I'm challenging them.
They've got to grow. They've got to grow.
That's exactly right. But if you just nod your head, for me, it's just like, I don't want you to just be agreeable. If you disagree with me, disagree with me. And you've mentioned this a few times, Chad, and going by this, you have to show up as a parent. Otherwise, you're just a donor.
Well, this is the thing. And single parents, not just single mums, we have to show up regardless. Whether you're sick, whether you're dying, whether you're depressed, whether you're tired, you always have to show up. So when there's an absent parent and they can't show up, It's just disheartening, but it doesn't hurt. It didn't hurt. Let's say it didn't hurt me. It hurt the kids.
Tanya,
So, and that's who it affects at the end of the day.
you just prompted me. One of the worst feelings I've ever had is when I'm sick and, the whole house is getting out of control. They're just kids. They're coming and going, and you're sitting there. You're sick, but the house, the floor needs to be mopped and vacuumed. The dishes for the roof.
Will doesn't stop for no one.
Yeah, so I know what that's like.
Yeah, so that's the disheartening part. It's that the single parent or whoever I could say has the kids as their front thought will always do everything.
The disheartening part is knowing that you're doing your best.
Yeah.
And there's someone out there that's stuck their penis in a warm spot somewhere and just seeing them as objects.
And this is the thing.
Collateral damage.
I'll just kind of tweak it. And that's the sad part when, okay, it wasn't a planned pregnancy, but we were together. And we knew we were having the kid, everything. But then you got the other ones who trap people in and then put them in a cycle of 18 years of child support and everything like that. And I hate that whole concept as well.
My favourite, a saying I always tell my son, there's two places you got to watch where you stick. One's your signature and the other one's your dick.
And that's not wrong. That's not wrong. But look, in saying so, I've never really been a see you next Tuesday. We went camping back in 2019. I offered their dad to come. He did come up for a weekend, which was great. It's good to see him bonding with the kids, but then it's straight after that, MIA again.
Yeah,
so
they can't.
And, and it's we'll call one kid for their birthday, say have birthday, the other one, nah. And it's just, I got tired. I was, when they were little, he was living in Melton. I was driving 50 minutes just to drop them off, even if it was a couple of hours, spend time with him. He moved into his grandma's house. I'll take the kids there. They'll come home. Mum, he just slept all day. He didn't even talk to us. He didn't.
And he was doing more damage.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do.
See what you're talking about now, and Lou, you'll add to this. I want to be very clear, and I must admit, before my divorce, you see divorced people online, whatever, all of a sudden they got some muscles, they got a new woman, you think,
yeah, because they're seeking
this ain't bad. You think, oh, if ever I was divorced.
They
And guess
glamorize
what?
it.
I got fit and I started doing that. Let me tell you, it's not what you think it is. And when you hear stories like this, and the stories that we're talking about here, believe me, it's probably less than 1% of the truth. This is not your first choice. This is not what you signed up for. This is not how you want to live, right? That's why we're doing what we're doing. Lou, you remember the coin moment, the day you told me about the coins? Tell me what that was like.
Well, I remember it got to a point where I was working, you're playing all this stuff. I wasn't seeing my kids. I just started to see them again. And I had to have them from, I think, Thursday through to Sunday. And here I was going through the drawer and, in little zip tie sandwich bags, I think I had about $13 in 5 and 10 cent pieces. That's it. And I had to figure out how I'm going to feed the kids and send them off to school on the Monday.
Now, for a woman, respectfully, it's a man's job to provide, right? So, yes, that having no money would hurt you, but let me tell you, there's no greater pain, because I've been through it and I've been through it for 5 years. My business is running off 25% of the turnover.
Yep.
All right? For a man with that values children and life and humanity, to look and to knowing there's nothing there and you're trying to give your kids something,
It's hard.
it's one of the most painful feelings in the world. And speaking of pain, I just want to close up with these two powerful messages. How did you start healing, and how would you advise? Healing looks differently for everyone, so how did you start healing?
I think I'm still healing, to be honest, but I think my kids are what actually humbled me.
See the accountability on this one?
I had them at, 18 and 19. They're only a year apart. Wait, 19. Anyways, but I think I learned a lot through them, to be honest. And I'm still learning every day, because there's days I wake up, I want to tear and burn the whole world down around me. But it's allocating our pain, our hurt, our anger towards what's actually doing it and not everyone else, unless they add to it. Then it's a different story.
See, there's words you guys just heard. I'll tell you now, you could meet 100 women and not hear these words. And one of the very first things that got my attention is everything you and I spoke about, just about every sentence involved the word accountability.
Yeah.
And that's why you're here, because you deserve to be here.
And none of us are perfect too. We are to blame for a lot of our footings in life or the direction it's gone.
I just want to thank you for like sharing this.
You for a bit. I told you not to get nervous, didn't I?
Yeah, still am. Palms are so sweaty.
If you could sit across from your 15-year-old self today, what would you say to your... I suppose more importantly, what would you say to other 15-year-olds out there that...
External validation means nothing. Fitting in doesn't mean anything. Like, you have to be able to, like, today I can say I could die tomorrow and I've done everything I can. I've helped everyone I could. I've accomplished everything I've wanted to accomplish so far.
That must be an awesome feeling.
It is. Like, I was very prominent through all the COVID rallies, everything, and I was so grateful to be part of everything. And, like, I stood up for a lot and I stand up for a lot. But if I could stand, just that I didn't need external validation, and family is really the root of everything. Like, you know.
Aiming to that, I adhere to that. Family is everything.
It is. And, like, just because your friend's doing it, you don't have to do it.
You don't have to, and you're not a follower, and that's the important thing.
But, you know, in your younger years, you kind of follow because you're like, oh, they look cool over there. I'm going to go smoke my first cigarette. Or...
what you just said there, run that by me again.
Oh, I forgot now.
That's
the nervousness.
It's about external validation means nothing, right?
Absolutely means nothing.
So empty packets seek the most, right? You know, it's funny. I love Dan Bilzerian, right? Now, I love him for many reasons. First of all, let's be real. On the outside, which man doesn't want that? Which young man growing up? But I didn't like him. I knew he was a playboy, but that's not really what got my... Yeah. I knew, you could tell, like, he wasn't abusive. Like, he'd always wear the same top every day, right? He's, like, not one of those, you know, loafer kind of guys, like me. But one thing he said that really got my respect, and people don't know this about him, and this is what I want guys to know. I'll tell you something very, very personal. Is he stopped that hedonistic lifestyle. He stopped, and now he actually shows men how to date and attract the right woman, right? Which I'd like to, touch more on that. He said something that you would never believe he said. He said, I've stopped all that, and the best I've ever felt life and happiest, at my happiest was when I was in a loving relationship.
Yeah.
Right? And believe me, I know exactly what he's talking about, right? When you have that, you have everything. Like, my cup is full. Now, before I met Sarah, I was already filling up my cup.
Yeah.
Because you can't add value to someone's life
if you've got nothing.
If you've got nothing to add.
Yeah, absolutely.
Vessel.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, it's being yourself, where you can be yourself. It doesn't matter, good, bad, indifferent, and if you've had a bad day.
And it's owning it all, though.
Communication is key. That's one
comprehension is.
Tania,
because some people can communicate with you and scream off the top of their lungs or talk. If you don't comprehend what's coming across, you lose it there.
And I think being real, you know, it's like you say, no one's perfect. Far from it.
We're all freaking imperfect.
You know, the biggest thing, and this is probably something that's passed on to your boys, is the sooner they find themselves, the sooner they find everything. Yeah. And that's the journey. And we live in a world where if you don't find yourself, the world is going to find you.
It's going to consume you, roll you up, and spit you out.
And that's what I'm doing because...
That's the thing, though. We need actually more being a woman, not many admit it, but we do need a lot more of the masculine men to come through.
Well,
But we need to cut the stigma because...
That's toxic.
We need to cut the stigma because that's just like even girls, he won't let me wear what I want to wear. You're meant to be in a relationship. Why are you still seeking that external validation? There's too much of this toxic bullshit with the masculine man. It's not toxic.
I'll tell you something about some of my values. So I got, like Sarah, when she came to my life, she said, Chad, I've never seen anyone, and I'm very blessed to hear this, I've never seen anyone with so many good friends, right? And I thought nothing of it, right? And then, like, I realised, hang on, man, you're the kind of guy that if Norm asked me to come to his house and I would knock on his door and his wife said, come in, I wouldn't go in.
Yeah.
If Louis' daughters, I had to be in the same room on my own, I would go out of my way to make sure that it's a worst case scenario. And, you know, that's just how I am. So the world, it's not that there's plenty of good men out there.
There is.
There is. And there's plenty of good women, right? And again, my show and my intentions are to actually do something with this, get as many people following, because when I hear of single mothers that are struggling, I want to help out. When I hear single fathers that are struggling, I want to help out. I want to help underprivileged kids. Again, I don't want Hollywood stories here.
Yeah, of course not.
What a journey, Tania. thank you very much for showing up today.
No, thanks for having me on.
With your truth, your honesty, your unfiltered perspective is not just inspiring, it's necessary. Stories like yours remind us that people don't just survive, they rebuild. They grow and they lead with love and courage. To everyone listening, no matter where you are at in your own story, know that healing is possible and you are not alone. Until next time, actually, before I get till next time, I'm not going to slip up this time. Tania,
Yes.
do you have any questions for Norm? What's it like growing up with you could
What was Chad like? What was the real reason he copped the chair over there?
No,
And how did you go from smacking someone across the head with the chair into continuing services?
no, actually, tell us the circle, but tell her that night we stopped talking and how we
I don't want the police to come here.
No, tell her that night we stopped talking.
So just say allegedly in front of everything.
No, the night we stopped talking. Remember you walked out of the party?
Yeah.
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 Watch how everything's written for you, Tania.
I was actually with my ex-wife and
Bad relationship.
Yeah, and we were invited to Chad's place. I think Jesse was there as well, and they were just fucking at each other. And I thought, what the fuck is this? A friendship group or? And I just felt so unwelcome, and I dismissed that.
Yeah,
I didn't want anything to do
You were
with
charging, doing lines, pills, and everything. I couldn't tell you.
probably, and I wasn't in that headspace. So
No.
yeah.
So what happened is he left, and I felt bad, right? My subconscious felt bad because I was doing that, yet I invited him because I wanted to be with him that night, but everything was wrong.
You were disconnected.
Yeah, right? So,
We talk about frequencies.
but I realised that later on. But that night, it's like, fuck, man, what did I do to this guy? He took off on me. But Tania, I love him so much, and getting back to someone owes you nothing, this is what I said to myself. I don't know why he left, and I generally think I didn't disappoint him. But you know what? One day, when I'm ready, we'll reconnect. No hate, nothing. And then we reconnected.
Yeah.
But we had to reconnect because we never would have found out the tale of the two dads.
Absolutely.
Right? So everything's written for you. Once you understand that there's a higher purpose, now would you like to ask Tania or Louis, myself, anything?
Tanya, I take my hat off to you, man. That was really brave of you to shoot all that.
That's literally just a smidge.
Yeah,
of
and
everything.
you know, just revealing that little bit must have been daunting for you. So I thank you for contributing your life story.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And fantastic to have a female perspective. Too much testosterone.
Tania, I can't tell you how much respect I've had for women over the last 4 years that I never had before. I can't tell you what it means for me to see a mother like you, knowing what a mother is. No womb, no woman. A woman
Sounds really raw.
is the seed of the earth, right? A man waters it. We're born to work together like the hands and feet. Do not give up hope. Do not ever let the devil take your soul. The division is the devil's work. Please, not for me, not for my kids, not for Norm, not for Tania, not for anyone. I know it would make all of us here feel better if we're helping others, and I want to be very transparent in what we're doing. Please follow, please like, please share, especially if we've added value. And any feedback is welcome. Lou, I'm always grateful to have you by my side, as well as Norm. Anything to say?
Always ready to say, but we'll leave that for another time. But it was great meeting you, Tania. Norm,
Likewise.
great seeing you again, man.
Yeah, nice seeing you too.
And thanks, Chad. We'll talk soon.
Tania, but wait, there's more. Don't send any money. So you're actually, because you're the first female guest on our podcast, I've gone out of my way I know you're into nature and you didn't wash your hands in COVID, which is,
I didn't.
right? Because I haven't had a shower since 1962, so I wash my hands. So let's do something from a very good friend of mine, Richard Jenny, who runs Yuki. Is it Blue Yuki?
Blue Yuki,
Yeah.
pure Australian oils.
Richard, Jenny, and I it was his birthday yesterday. So happy birthday, Richard. He sent me. I'll tell you, this is how open and raw. I didn't know Richard from Bar of Soap. I saw him online just through a networking thing.
Beautiful.
There is products there, right? And I didn't know. I didn't know. Yeah, amazing stuff. And by the way, I only want to support people who've come into my life. I got no interest in big business. I want to help
support small
Yeah, I want to help the underdog. Richard, I saw him one night, one time online through a networking group, and he was into David Goggins like me, and he did the 4x4x48 challenge one time, and he got my attention. And through work, we reconnected. You know, when you just hit it off. And every time he rings me, we're at it, him and I. I always conclude with this. I said, Richard, you know, if we met when we were young, we'd either be dead or in jail. I said, yeah. So it was his birthday yesterday. Happy birthday. Thanks for your support, and we hope to help you out more. But more importantly, thank you for coming today. And until next time, stay grounded, stay brave, and stay real. And this is Leb Kelly, all right, because Sarah wanted what do you call it, a Viking. I said, I can't give you a Viking, but I can give you Leb Kelly, a Lebo, Australianised Lebo. Yeah. And thank you for listening to Chaddy Issues. And remember, you take care of your issues. You take care of your daddy issues. And together, we can make things grow.
Is that it? I was thinking, oh, that was weird.
Oh, my ears are sweating.
Thanks, well done.
I'm still sweating. Thanks so much for that, Jags.
Thanks.